3-year principle. If you've been in my mastermind or been out to one of my events, you've heard me talking about this. But the 3-year principle goes back to like the law of sowing and reaping. In order to become an expert at anything, you need to spend 10,000 hours doing that thing in order to be like, this is like second nature. I'm an expert at what I'm doing. If you don't spend 10,000 hours doing that thing, then you'll never become an expert. Think about this in business. Think about this in people working jobs. How many people do we see who like never get ahead? And by the way, 10,000 hours, 50 hours a week, working 50 weeks a year, 40 hours a week is 2,000 hours per year. So in order to become an expert at anything, how much time do you have to dedicate if it's 2,000 hours per year and you got to get to 10,000 hours? 5 years. Simple math. And so when you got to dedicate 5 years to something in order to become an expert at it on a full-time basis, think about people who work a job and they jump from job to job every few years because they never get ahead. And then they never get ahead in their career because they jump from job to job and they never make the long-term commitment. You guys all know those people, right? Who here's got a business that's under 3 years old? Who here's got a business that's over 3 years old? When did the momentum hit? It's after. So I say I use a 3-year principle because we're all a little bit psycho and we probably spend 60 hours a week thinking about business instead of 40 hours a week. So instead of 5 years, I do a 3-year principle. But the idea here is, go back to the law of sowing and reaping, is it takes time in year 1 to plant the seeds. Some of those seeds get blown away. Some of those seeds get burned up. Some of those seeds flood in the water that you pour on it. Some of those seeds are just bad seeds, right? And think about this from a relationship standpoint and their business standpoint. You're trying to figure out who the good title companies are, who the good CPAs are, who the good attorneys are, who the good wholesalers are, who the good lenders are, who the good contractors are, who the good vendors are for your business. Right? All those different things, you're trying to figure it out. You're planting those seeds. Some of them are bad seeds. Some of them are good seeds though too. But they're fragile, right? By the time they take root, year 2 is cultivating those seeds. Now, these are relationships you're trying to grow. Trust you're trying to gain. Respect you're trying to earn, right? That's what happens in year 2. Figuring out, okay, hey, here's how my team works in this situation. Here's how they respond in this situation. Here's how I can become a better leader. Here's how I can better interact with folks. Here's all the different things that you can use to cultivate those relationships with those private money lenders who only want to start you out with $100,000 initially. And then they'll bump you up to 250. And then they'll bump you up to 500. And then they'll bump you up to many millions after you've cultivated those relationships. Year 3 is when the real harvest starts coming. Year 3 is when momentum starts to hit. And now, everybody's in sync, everybody's in the zone, everybody's moving in the same boat in the same direction, and real excitement starts happening. The flow you get into. But it takes 3 years. And then, year 4 and beyond, that's the consumption phase. That's when you get to eat the harvest. That's when things start to get boring, right? And boring means it prints money. Boring businesses are very, very good businesses to be in because they're automated, they're systematized. But it takes many years, it takes at least 3 years in order to catch that momentum. Have you guys seen that in business? Every single one of my businesses, I've seen this 3-year principle set in. Minimum 3 to 5 years in anything you do in order to really see the results. And including masterminds. Making a commitment. I was talking outside with one of the guys. We were talking, and he's like, dude, I'm in masterminds. I don't talk to anybody. I don't do deals with anybody unless they've been in for 2 to 3 years. Because I don't want transactional relationships. I'm looking for relationship. People who are in it because of the commitment, and they have good values. They're not just trying to extract, but they're trying to deliver value, and they have a long-term mindset. The transactional people come and go, and we don't do, like I don't know. There's people who do deals right away with new folks and certain masterminds and all that kind of stuff. I don't. I want to see who's got staying power. I want to see who's focused on relationships and long-term value as opposed to just transacting and pulling chips on the table right now. 2 years ago, I invested in this big, 4 years ago, I invested in this big deal out in Texas, $100 million deal, the one that's got the mezz debt on it. And I was a passive loan sponsor. I just signed on the loan. 2 other guys were the operating partners. And those 2 guys, one, pretty decent guy, but had no real resources. The other guy had resources, and he was a piece of shit. These two guys were running the operations. I was a passive loan sponsor, thought I would make a couple $1 million, like $6-7 million inside 2 or 3 years. And we were gonna flip this property and I'd never see it again. What happened within 24 months was the management company defrauded us. And they placed over 200 tenants in a 600-unit apartment complex that were unqualified. They made up income. They overrode failed background checks. They either didn't take deposits or they pocketed the deposits. And because they were getting bonus based on tenant placement. And then they hid it in the financials for 6 months. And they said that there was 300 grand in age payables. It was $3.4 million in age payables. They said the occupancy was 70, 80, or 80, 90%. It was 30% economic occupancy. We had the news stations out there saying we were slumlords. We had the city with 80 plus pages of city violations that they came out and did because of deferred maintenance and all these other things that were not being done at the property. Found out about it this month 2 years ago. And I was sitting in this room 2 years ago, and Bobby Castro came in, who's worth over $500 million, owns a couple $1 billion of property, has sold businesses for lots and lots of money. And I was like, dude, I don't know what to do, right? Like, I thought I was on top. I thought I had all this stuff figured out. He goes, Tim, this deal of yours, if you would have asked yourself, do you see yourself passing on this deal to your kids in 30, 40, 50 years from now? Would you have said yes or no when you bought it? I said, absolutely not. My kids don't want a C-class property in Houston, Texas that they want to deal with 50 years from now. No, that's 70s vintage or whatever. Like, no, I bought this to make a few $1 million inside of a couple of years and get rich off it. He said, that's your problem. He said, you are focused on short-term things. You're making decisions based on short-term circumstances, not based on long-term, permanent circumstances. Don't make permanent decisions based on temporary circumstances. And this can go both directions. From me, my standpoint, it was ego-driven. I thought, yeah, I'm on top right now. I can go buy any shitty deal and I can make it work. Heavy value until interest rates start rising, until insurance costs start going up. And all these different things started changing. Dude, got my legs taken out. This single deal, talk about ego. This single deal, like I already had a $250 million portfolio. I took down this deal straight for ego. To be able to pound my chest saying I own a $100 million property. And it could have wiped me out clean. Because I made short-term decisions. Instead of long-term decisions. Think about Elon Musk. You think Elon Musk gives a shit about the profit and loss statement this month, this quarter, this year even? Elon doesn't care. He's thinking about colonizing Mars 500 years from now. And that's the difference between how billionaires think and how thousandaires or millionaires think. They're thinking on a long-term schedule. Always focus on the long term. Like this, and by the way, this is an emotional roller coaster, right? Just this morning, I've been up and down on the emotional roller coaster. You know how you stop from flying off of a roller coaster? You put the bar down, man. Strap in, you put the bar down. Set a low expectation, and you think long-term vision, right? By having a long-term vision, the variables of ups and downs on a day-to-day and weekly and monthly and annual basis don't become so difficult. The highs aren't as high, the lows aren't as low. You realize you're in it for the long term. You will always make better long-term decisions. You'll always make better short-term decisions if it's based on a long-term outlook. Always. So there was a study done, scientific study. Scientists, right? A bunch of really smart people with these advanced degrees sitting in a room, and they took this ethereal concept of how do we improve luck? And they took all these different variables and tried to measure all this different stuff and trying to figure out how do you improve your luck? You know what it came down to? They were able to narrow it down to one thing of how you increase your luck. One thing. It's not even the choices that you make. It's something that influences the choices that you make. You know what that is? The people you hang around with. Nothing influences luck more than the people you hang around with. In good times and in bad times. It's easy to be part of these groups when business is going good and you can easily write a check and you can be in the room and you can travel to stay at the friggin' Ritz. It's easy then to say, yeah, I'm committed. Yeah, I got the 3-year vision. Yeah, I'm going to be here long term. That's easy. You know what's harder? It's when things aren't going well. Dude, and that's when you need it the most. Because that's when you need luck on your side. That's when you need to be in these circles, troubleshooting problems. That shit deal 2 years ago, you know what happened? Adam Maggio brought 7 figures. Mark Evans wired 7 figures without paperwork. Josh Zaglowski brought multiple millions of dollars to that deal. All because I'm still in the room. Because I'm still relevant. Because I'm still top of mind. Because I never asked for anything for 9 years from some of these guys. And when the time came, they knew that I was there for long term. And I took care of them. And I paid them well, and I was glad to do it. I boosted their equity in the deal, and all those different things. Because I was relevant, because I was still in the room, and I needed some luck. And I wasn't afraid to ask for help. And I was vulnerable, right? Everything can change if you stay in the room. I appreciate you guys. Just be here, right? If there's one commitment that you can make, it's being in the friggin' room and saying, I'm going to be here no matter what, no matter how difficult things are, the ups, the downs, the booms, the busts, no matter what, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, because who I am and who Mark is are two very different people, right? I'm planning on making multiple 8 figures this year in equity and actual cash from deals and businesses that I have going. I made 100 grand. It was the biggest year I ever had 10 years ago. Do you think if all of us stayed in the room and all of us made a commitment, not only to your own business, but to each other, to be in the room, what all of our businesses could collectively look like in another 10 years? It's like, I get the chills thinking about it. It's unfathomable. I can't even wrap my head around what could be if we all just stick together, keep our arms linked, keep running the same direction, and make sure that we're supporting each other throughout the entire time. So, appreciate you guys. I love you. I'll see you at lunch.